Dillon and Anthony Lake for Mr. Schaefer, and he is present.
All right, and then Mr. Floyd. All right, not seeing Mr. Floyd present today or anyone on behalf of his counsel. He received notice that today would resume, and so I will make a finding that he's decided not to attend today's round 2. All right, anything we need to take up before resuming? We have someone from the gallery.
Sorry, Robin Martin, I went to John Morrison's office. He's sick today.
Okay, and Mr. Floyd has decided what exactly? Did he?
He's waiting. I guess
Ms. Cross?
It sounds like it's a deliberate choice for Mr. Morrison not to be present this morning, and the defendant was certainly here yesterday if he joins later. Otherwise, I think we can call that a voluntary waiver.
Okay, I agree, and I haven't heard anything else from Mr. Morrison or any other counsel. Is there anything we need to take up before resuming testimony here? Let me start with the state.
I'm sorry, thank you, Your Honor. Yesterday, the state had asked that Ms. Yurdi be, her subpoena be held in case we needed to recall. I let her attorney know last night after speaking to me we don't intend to recall her, and as far as the state's concerned, I know she'd already been released from the subpoena from the other side, so there was no reason for her to be today from the state.
All right, Ms. Merchant, can we excuse Ms. Yurdi?
I talked to her attorney last night, and I said, hey, we had a different conversation, so I think she's still on standby.
So your position has changed since yesterday?
Well, based on the state's representation that they may have rebuttal evidence, but they didn't give us that, so I don't know what that is. So in rebuttal, if they present something in rebuttal that I need to call her to talk about, then I will.
All right, we'll address it as it comes up. What else? Anything else, Ms. Cross?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Merchant.
I know that we are still in the middle of Ms. Willis, but we need to address some of the things that were said yesterday in court in regards to Mr. Bradley's privilege, things like that. Do you want to do that now, or would you rather do that before Mr. Bradley?
When you say address them, what do you mean?
Well, there's a couple different issues, but we've got the privilege issue is one of them. But I also, what I did was I drafted all my questions, and I thought I could give those to the court, opposing counsel, everyone can do them, so we didn't have to worry about the privilege stuff. There were some allegations. I had a transcript made of the proceeding yesterday. Some specific allegations that I think I should have an opportunity to refute. Specifically that I had egregiously misrepresented, that things that I had said were patently false, and that all of that information came from Mr. Abadi. Speaking of Mr. Chopra, I spoke with Mr. Chopra. We talked to him in the car on the way here on speakerphone, Mr. Merchant and I. And he said that he didn't tell Mr. Abadi any of that information, doesn't know where Mr. Abadi got it from. Mr. Abadi says that he did, so, you know.
If there's any clearing of the air that needs to happen, and if we need to get to that, I think the right time would be once we've actually seen all the evidence that comes out.
Right.
So.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the board know. Thank you.
And in terms of the privilege issue, if you're planning to recall Mr. Bradley, and you've actually typed out some specific questions, then yes, I think that would be helpful and might allow things to proceed a little more efficiently through his testimony. So to the extent you've got those typed out and are willing to provide those to counsel for Mr. Bradley and the state, I'd encourage you to do that. And before we call him, we can get into that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I have a copy for the court. I have one copy for either Mr. Evans. I know Mr. Abadi was objecting to privilege yesterday, but I think it's actually Mr. Evans that needs to do that.
Was Mr. Evans is here? Okay. All right. Anything else from any counsel?
Both the rule, make sure it's still in.
Rule is still in place. All right. Not seeing anything else. If we could bring back in Ms. Willis.
Actually, Your Honor, the state has no further questions for Ms. Willis, so.
All right.
No need to recall.
Okay, Ms. Merchant. Next witness.
I think we're about to hit the privilege issue.
We are about to hit the privilege.
There we are. Okay. Then do you need counsel need a moment to take a look at her questions?
Yes. So I've got a copy. Oh, I guess Mr. Evans.
And then do we have Mr. Bradley somewhere in the whereabouts nearby.
Mr. Chopra, I informed Mr. Chopra that he's still under subpoena, so.
Well, him and his client.
Yes, I'm also with Mr. Bradley, and he's actually not here today.
We need you to identify yourself for the record, sir.
I'm named Van Ward. He's not here at this moment. He has a doctor's appointment that he's currently in as we speak. And his representation is on the way here as well. I'd love to be able to get one of the.
Do you have a copy of that information?
I just informed Mr. Evans.
Do you have a time estimate of when he's supposed to be here?
I have one copy for y'all. Of the questions?
Not for-
Where's the doctor in relation to here?
Yes, at the very earliest, it would be free about 10 o'clock, 10 to 10:30.
All right, he's currently driving here as we speak.
He's at the actual doctor's office as we speak.
Okay. And
And I think the council was informed of that last night, that he would not be here until at the earliest 10 to 10:30.
all right,
I wasn't until 10 or 10:30, but.
sure. Ms. Merchant, other than Mr. Bradley, did you have any other witnesses?
Not that I can call before Mr. Brown.
But I do think we can take up some of the privilege
Sure.
questions.
No, I think we can use this time to do that. So why don't y'all take a moment to look at the questions and then let me know when you're ready to proceed.
My part of it doesn't have to do with questions. I understood yesterday, I know these gentlemen are looking at the same time, so you want me to wait until they've had a chance to.
Well, I think you're about to maybe make a legal qualification here, so why don't we hear what you got?
Yesterday, it sounded as if the witness was going to decline to answer any questions at all in relation to communications, or observations, or anything, be it independent source or otherwise, that took place during the time of the alleged attorney-client privilege relationship, which is 2015, I think, until the present. I understood that as referencing not simply attorney-client privilege communications, but what we commonly refer to under 1.6 as confidences and secrets, which are not covered by the attorney-client privilege and are not barred from testimony or evidence in a courtroom. But it sounded as if the court is going to have to order Mr. Bradley to testify, and then Mr. Bradley will have to take a position of whether he's going to follow the court's order, heed the court's order, or whether he's not. If he does, then we'll be able to get into hopefully the questions that Ms. Merchant has prepared on Mr. Roman's behalf. If he says, I'm not going to comply, then theoretically we're in a position in which the court will have to hold him in contempt. And then, at that point, my guess would be that somebody would say, I would like him to have the contempt stayed while I take it up on appeal. So I'm just trying to play through where we're going to be. Because if we're going to do that, we might as well know this before we start putting them on the stand.
I think that's a good thing to flag now, and I agree that yesterday during the hearing there was some intermingling of 1.6 and attorney-client privilege, and now having had the time to kind of parse through that, and it does seem that there is a distinction between the two. One is not covered by the evidentiary privilege, and pulling the case of Tenet Healthcare Corp., 273 Georgia 206, Supreme Court doesn't make that distinction. So to that end, Mr. Evans, as we work through these issues, I would say that when Mr. Bradley takes the stand, I would be directing him to respond and be responsive to any questioning that may be covered by Rule 1.6. That would be the order of this court. But that still reserves the issue of attorney-client privilege. So as you're reviewing those questions, we'll keep that in mind, and I'll be interested to hear your response. Anything else you think we should clarify before we take a break to look at the questions? Do you have a copy for me?
Yes, I do. A copy of the questions, Judge, and I also have copies of there's the exhibit that I would be filing. Would you like that as well? I just took those.
So I have an objection to filing. You say you want to file it?
No, that I'm going to use Mr. Bradley's testimony. I think it will help, but we can wait and I can use it. May I approach the question that I gave Mr. Rogers?
All right, and counsel for Mr. Bradley, I'm sorry, can I get your name one more time? I didn't write it down.
Maybe I would.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Ward, if we could get some regular updates of where he is and how he is progressing towards the courtroom. And then when everyone has had a chance to read these questions in the interim, let me know and we can take this up. Mr. McDougald.
I have a text message from one of Mr. Floyd's lawyers that he's logged in on the Zoom conference, Your Honor.
Okay. Is someone joining us by... Thank you. Is someone joining us by Zoom that wants to appear for the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Chris Kachuroff for Mr. Floyd.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kucherov. And I think we had a legal assistant here announcing on Mr. Floyd's behalf, but I think it would be better to have counsel of record any announcement in terms of Mr. Floyd's presence this afternoon, or excuse me, today.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I don't know. Did you ask a question?
Yes, sir. So Mr. Floyd joined us yesterday, but I do not see him here today. Do you have an announcement about his presence for today's hearing?
No, he will not be present, Your Honor.
All right.
We would waive his presence.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kucherov. All right. We'll be in recess until I hear from the parties.
Thank you.